Welcome to this video tutorial involving special right triangles. We are going to solve for all the variables that you see listed on the screen. Perhaps you want to pause and try this problem before we proceed together. Now looking at this picture, this triangle on the far left, when we look at that triangle, we don't know any of its angle measures aside from the fact that it is a right triangle because we have a straight line with a 90-degree angle means we have another 90-degree angle. But we cannot assume anything about the other angles, whether they are 30, 60, 45, or some other measure. Then, as we look at this triangle in the middle, it is a special right triangle. The two legs of that triangle are congruent, as indicated in the picture, which means that the angles in that triangle have to be 45-degree angles. And on the triangle on the far right, it's already given to us as a 30, 60, 90 triangle. So we're going to start with the triangle on the far right because that's the one where we have a value and able to work with it. Across from the 30 is the short leg. Please do not go by visuals. Please look at across from the 30 as our short leg. So we're going to start off with the one formula that the hypotenuse is double the short leg. Here the hypotenuse is E and the short leg is 4 radical 5. On any quiz, test, or any other assignment, I would want to see the work as we have noted with the equation provided. E then is going to be 8 radical 5. Please make sure the answer is fully simplified and that you have circled or done something to identify your final answer. Then we know that the long leg is radical 3 times the short leg in a 30, 60, 90 right triangle. The long leg is across from the 60-degree angle. In this case, the long leg is D, and our short leg is 4 radical 5. So when we simplify, now these are pretty simple simplifications. D is 4 radical 15. That took care of the triangle in red. Now we morph over to the triangle in blue and realize that we found that D is 4 radical 15. So when we isolate the triangle in blue and just investigate it, we have 4 radical 15 for the hypotenuse, and we're going to solve for B and C, which will actually be the same. In this case, the hypotenuse is radical 2 times the leg. Make sure you know your 45, 45, 90 triangle formula. So we'll say that 4 radical 15 is equal to square root of 2 times B. We will need to divide both sides by radical 2 to get the B by itself. And when we do that, we get that B is 4 radical 15 all over radical 2. Please remember you cannot leave a square root in the denominator. So we have to multiply by radical 2 over radical 2. B would be 4 radical 30 because you multiply the things that are inside the radicals together. And radical 2 times radical 2 is really the square root of 2 being squared. And the square root and the square cancel, giving us just 2. Or you could think about it as the square root of 4, which also simplifies to 2. So B turns out to be 2 square root of 30. Last but not least, we will come over to the triangle on the far left in order to solve for A. We don't know that it's a special triangle, so please do not make assumptions. But we just solved for B and saw that that was 2 radical 30. So now in order to obtain A, we will use the Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. In this case, it'll be A squared plus 2 radical 30. Now notice how we're using the parentheses. Those are absolutely essential. And the other thing that I will ask to see when you're writing up your work is that squared means you multiply that item by itself. So please write your work as I just did. Then A squared plus 2 times 2 is 4. Radical 30 times radical 30 is 30. 6 times 6 is 36. Radical 11 times radical 11 is 11. So we'll get A squared plus 120 is equal to whatever 36 times 11 is. Now you can use your calculator, but show your work. That turns out to be 396. So now we need to continue to solve for A. Subtract the 120 from both sides. And I get 276 for A squared. And we want the square root of 276. Do not write a decimal. We need to simplify that as a square root and show your work. So with 276, it looks like 4 divides it. It turns into 4 times 69. Square root of 4 is just 2. And we will not find a perfect square that divides 69. So that would be our final answer. Please circle it or identify it. And remember that on a test or a quiz, if it's said to be in exact form, this is how the answer should look. Simplified fractions, simplified square roots, and no decimals.